everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this. I'm calling it Peach Blossom just because it's peach color. Doesn't really look like a flower much, but I'm going to call it Peach Blossom Bracelet. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to get you close. This is the clasping. Actually, let me just put it on right and let you see it from the back here. This is the clasping. And this is what it looks like. And this is done with this the summer bling fling treasure bag. I should have named that something else, but it was stupid and I liked it, so that's what it is. However, you don't have to have the treasure bag to do this. These are all common size beads, very easily found in your own stash usually, and so you can go ahead and make this. Of course, it doesn't have to be peach in color. It can be any color you want. So let me take it off so you can see what it looks like off, and then we will go ahead and look and see what it takes to make this bracelet. And that's what it looks like. Let me back off just a little bit. And there you have it. And let's go ahead and look at the material list. Okay, for this project today, we will be using some of the beads found in the Summer Bling Fling treasure bag. However, these are very common size beads, and if you do not have the treasure bag, you can still do this project. So don't worry about that. You are not left out. So what we're going to be using from the treasure bag are the 8mm round electroplated imitation jade round beads. So we will be using some of those, and of course if you don't have the treasure bag, just use anything 8mm round. You could probably modify down to a 6mm round if you adjust your seed beads and beads in between, and that will make more sense as you see the tutorial. And then we're going to be using, it's a 4 by 3.5 rondelle, but it's basically just a 4mm round. You can't even tell the difference. It's more round than it is rondelle. So I'm going to say use a 4mm round, and this is the one in the treasure bag, and it is called Coral. So you can use, like I said, just your basic 4mm round crystal for this. And then I'm using some 3mm bicones, and it's the Peach Puff, and that was also in the treasure bag. And you can use, if you do not have the treasure bag, you could use like a 3x2 rondelle, or you could use any 3mm bicone you have. Should work just fine. And also from the treasure bag, we're using one of the clasps. Of course, you can use any clasping that you would like. I'm adding to the treasure bag with 8/0 and 11/0 seed beads. This is the Toho Galvanized Permanent Finish Starlight. It is a gold tone. Then we're going to be using, I have a size 10 beading needle. Actually, you could use a size 10 or 12 for this. And I'm using some 12-pound Nanofil for a couple of reasons. Number one, 10-pound right now is getting difficult to find. Every time I try to order it, it's out. And 8-pound is right along with it. You can get it still, but it's getting more difficult to find. So I went up to a 12-pound just to see how it would work out. And because Nanofil is so small in diameter, a 12-pound should work with most of our designs just fine. Now if we're doing something with passing through a lot of 15/0s or something, then we'll want to go back down to an 8 or 10-pound. But this 12-pound Nanofil is nice small diameter, and it seems to be working well. So I just wanted to offer that as an alternative. And these beads are bigger. They could use more of a stronger thread anyway, and a little bit bigger diameter. So I am going to use the 12-pound Nanofil. Of course, if you have 10-pound, use it, or you could use your 6 or 8-pound Fireline. It should work fine in this particular design. So put onto your needle at least a wingspan of thread. A wingspan is when you spread your arms out from side to side like you're going to fly away. Measure from the fingertips of your first arm, the length of that arm across your chest, the length of your second arm, and to the fingertips on that arm. And you may need to extend your Fireline or Nanofil during this project, and if you need to, I will link a video below in the description box beneath the video player that will show you how to do that. So go ahead and thread your needle, and let's get started. Okay, so once you have threaded your needle, you're going to pick up onto it 4 8 seed beads. I'll get you in a little closer here. And we're just going to bring this down to the end of the thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but enough to hold on to. And then come back through the first 8 you've put onto your thread. So on the tail side, come through that bead, just like that. Now we're going to sew back around all 4 of these beads until we get to the point where our tail and our working thread meet. And then I can just tug my thread together so that the beads are together nice. And I'm just going to tie a little overhand knot here. Bring it down between the beads. You don't have to pull it incredibly tight, but enough to tighten your knot so that you have some stability in your little unit here. Now we're going to make our first unit, and then we're going to come back and put our clasping on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into one of these beads because we are between them where we tied the knot at the moment. So come into one of the beads, and then you're going to pick up a 4mm round, an 8mm round, a 4mm round, an 8 and then repeat a 4mm round, an 8mm round, and a 4mm round. So this is what you should have, just like this. We're coming out of this side of this 8 we're going to go into the opposite side, like this, and pull through. And now we have this. And what we're going to do, excuse me, is we're going to reinforce this, and as we reinforce this, we're going to put another little unit of right angle weave from this 8 So we're just going to sew up to that 8 So we're coming out of this 8 on this end. Go ahead and sew all the way up the 4mm round, the 8mm round, and the 4mm round, and pull your thread through. Tighten everything up as much as you can, and then go into this 8 right here. And then tighten again. As you pull your thread through, give it a little tug. And then we're going to pick up 3 8 seed beads. Our fourth, of course, is the one on the unit. So we pick up 3, and we're coming out of this side of the 8 Let me get you just a little closer. We're coming out of this side of the 8 We're going to go into the opposite side of the 8 right here. Now things may loosen up a little bit as you pull this through. Just hold on to your unit the best you can between your fingers, and then give a little tug so that there's not a lot of slack, just like this. And then we're going to sew back up to this 8 So we have to go through this 4mm round, this 8 here, like this, and then up into this 4mm round and the 8 we started in. And this is what you should have. Now we're going to go ahead and do the whole unit with the embellishments, and then we will put on our clasping. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 3 11 seed beads, a 4mm round, come here, and 3 11 seed beads, just like this. And we're coming out of this side of this 8 right here. We're going to go straight across into the opposite 8 and into the same side that we're coming out of on this one. So we're going to go directly across, just like this. And hold on to the entire unit. I know my fingers are covering it, but it's floppy right now. So you just want to hold on to it. Guide that series of beads over the top of your unit, and then repeat. Pick up 3 11 seed beads. Instead of picking up a 4mm round, we're going to go through the one we have. So we're going to go through this 4mm round. Things are going to loosen up. That's okay. Put your thumb over it. hold it with the rest of your fingers, and pull until it's tight again, just like this. And then pick up 3 11-0 seed beads, and you're going to go into the opposite side of the 8-0 you started in, right here. I'm just going to straighten it all up. And now I want to put an embellishment on this little right angle weave unit that I've made. So I'm going to pick up one of my 3mm bicones. I'm coming out of this side of this 8-0 here, this way. I'm going to go across to the opposite one in the opposite side of that one. So I'm going to go in a diagonal and go into this bead here. And pull all the way down until you can tighten that nicely so that you don't see the thread and the little bicone sinks down into the middle of that unit. Now, because this is our starting unit, we're going to go ahead and secure this unit, sew back up, and put our clasping on this side. And then we'll work our way back down. Actually, let's go ahead and put our clasping on this side since we're here, and then we'll just work our way back down and make the length of the bracelet on this side, and we can just cut this tail off. So let's do it this way. We're coming out of this 8-0 seed bead. I want to establish a little bit more strength in this particular unit, so I'm going to sew around it. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to go into this 8-0 here. And then I'm going to go into the 8-0 that I connected to. So you kind of have to find it. It's a little buried. If you need to, turn your piece over and go through that 8-0 right there. And just feel your way through, or turn it over like this. Go through that one. Making sure that you keep your tension good so that that little bicone doesn't loosen up. Then go up into this side arm of this unit here, and then we're going to go up into the top bead here. We're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead and an 8-0 seed bead, just like this, and I'm going to put this down and drop this down to my unit here. I squished my unit a little bit, but I'll fix that. So now that you have the 11-0 and 8-0 there, you're going to go through your clasping. You want to use your round clasp part on this side, because the other side we're going to do just a little differently. So grab the round part of your clasping and then go into the 8-0 seed bead right under it, and only the 8-0. So I'm just going to put my fingers together holding on to that 8-0 so it doesn't go anywhere, and then pull my thread through until I have it nice and tight like this. Now I'm going to pick up another 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to go back into the 8-0 on the unit which I'm connecting to. So in the opposite side, right here. And pull that down until it lays next to the other 11-0 that we put in. Now we are going to sew back through this unit a couple of times just to secure it. So I'll show you how to do it once. We're coming out of this 8-0. We're going to go into this 11-0 here, and I'm just going to take one bead at a time so it kind of straightens out my unit. Then I'm going to go into this 8-0 and then up through the clasping, just like this. Then back down into the 8-0 and the 11-0 on this side, if I can get them both. And yeah, I can. Just like this. Or you can take it one at a time, which I probably should have done to keep it nice and straight. Then we're going to go back into the 8-0 we're connecting to on the unit itself. Pull that through. Now, go ahead and sew back up through that again 2 more times, and we'll be back. Okay, so I went ahead and sewed through 1 more time. Because I'm using a little bit bigger thread, 1 more time is sufficient, and you don't want to fill your beads too much, then you can't pass through them easily. So, because we already did 2 passes through, 1 more was sufficient. Now, we're coming out of this 8-0 right here after securing. we're going to go into the 8/0 here, and then again turn your unit over and go through the 8/0 that's in the actual beaded part of the unit here. You can turn it back over if you'd like. Sew through the 4mm round here and the 8mm round here. Let me back off just a little. And then I'm going to sew through the 4mm round here and the 8/0 here. And now I'm in position to put my little bicone on this unit right here. So I'm going to pick up my bicone. I'm coming out of this side of my 8/0. I'm going to go into the opposite 8/0 in the opposite side in a diagonal. So just like this, and pull that down. Now, I want to secure this little embellishment, this little bicone, and make sure it's not going to come apart. Plus, I want to secure this actual unit so that it has strength, because it's between units, it's a component joiner. So we're going to sew around this complete unit again. So we were coming out of this bead here, we're going to go into the side bead here. Pull tight after that so that you can get your embellishment tight again on top. Go into the 8/0, ignoring the 4mm round there, just go into the 8/0 here. And then we're going to sew into this side arm here. And now we are in the 8/0 on the bottom, and we can make our next unit. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this tail just so that it's out of my way. I'll leave a tiny bit of a tag, take my lighter and just get the heat close to that little tag and just melt it in. Just like that. Now we have our first unit, straighten them all up. Should look pretty good, like that. Now we're going to make our next unit. And so we're going to start with a 4mm round. Oh, come here. These little guys are kind of hard to pick up. You can't see the hole. So a 4mm round, an 8mm round, a 4mm round, an 8/0 seed bead, a 4mm round, an 8mm round, and a 4mm round. Okay. I'll show you what I have on my thread here. So we're going to drop this down, and this is what I have: 4mm round, 8mm round, 4mm round. Then you've got your 8/0 seed bead, 4mm round, 8mm round, and 4mm round, just like that. Now we're coming out of this 8/0 seed bead. We're attached on this side. We're going to go into the opposite side of that 8/0 and pull this unit around, just like this. Now we need to work our way down and put on another unit of right angle weave. It's going to get all loose and weird, but just go through your 4mm round, your 8mm round, and your 4mm round, and pull this down. And then tug and arrange until it's all together. Go into this 8/0 seed bead right here. I'm holding on to the beads as I pull my thread through to secure them, keep them from getting all weird. And then I'm going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads onto my needle. I'm coming out of this 8/0. I'm going to go into the opposite side of it with my 3 8/0s and pull them down, just like this. Now I'm going to sew into this side and up into this 8/0 right here. So we're going to go through this 4mm round and the 8mm round, then into the 4mm round here and the 8/0 it's connected to, just like this. Pull it tight, make sure everything looks good, and let's begin our top embellishment. So we're going to pick up 3 11/0 seed beads, a 4mm round, come here you, and 3 11/0 seed beads. Drop that down. Then you're going to go straight across into the 8/0 opposite the one you're coming out of, into the same side. So straight across into this side right here. Just like that. Pull this down over the top and secure it, or tighten it the best you can, get some tension on it. Then pick up 3 more 11/0 seed beads and go into that 4mm round again, just like this. Put your thumb and your fingers together over it, hold it, and pull those beads down. Now they may fall in weird directions at this point. Straighten them up and then get some tension on them by tugging your thread a little bit, and then pick up 3 more 11/0 seed beads. Come here. And then we're going to go into the opposite side of the 8/0 we started in. So right here. And pull these down. Give everything a little tug so that it looks good. Now we have to travel down to this unit here. So we're going to go through this 4mm round, this 8mm round, into this 4mm round, and the 8/0 behind it, right here. Now we're going to put on our bicone crystal, so pick up your tiny bicone. And we're coming out of this side of the 8/0 here. We're going to go into the opposite 8/0 on the opposite side from which we're coming out. So we're going to go in a diagonal, just like this. Pull this down and pull this tight. Pull straight so that you're not pulling up against the beads and making them move out of where they're supposed to be. So just pull straight through the hole there. And you can feel that little bicone kind of embed itself in the middle of that unit there. And that's what that should look like. Now we're going to sew back around this unit again. So we're coming out here. We're going to go into this 8/0 here. This will set this bicone embellishment and give another pass of thread to strengthen your bracelet. Turn it over so you can see it better. We're coming out of this 8/0, go into the one between the 4mm rounds here, right here. Turn it back over, go into the next 8/0, and then go into the bottom 8/0 here, which will set you up for your next unit. Let's do one more unit on camera, and then we'll go to length off camera. So we're coming out here now. We are ready to pick up our next main beads. So we're going to pick up a 4mm round. We're going to pick up an 8mm round, a 4mm round, an 8/0 seed bead. Oh, come here. Shooting seed beads across the room. And then we're going to pick up a 4mm round, an 8mm round, and a 4mm round. It's really hard to see the holes in these 4mm rounds. Okay, drop that down. And then we're going to go into the 8/0 we're attaching to on the opposite side here. And this is what we have. Now we're going to sew halfway down till we get to the 8/0 on the opposite side here. So I'm going to go into this 4mm round, this 8mm round, and I can tighten things as I pull through. Then I'll go into this 4mm round and this 8/0 seed bead. Again, tighten things because you don't want to set it with the next stitch if there's any slack in it. So right there. And then you're going to pick up 3 8/0 seed beads and go into the opposite side from which you're coming out of this 8/0, right here. And pull these down. And regain your tension by giving it a little tug. And you may have a little bit of slack on this side, but as we sew back up through, we can tighten that. So we're going to go into this 4mm round, this 8mm round, and then up into this 4mm round, and the 8/0 that we originally attached to. Pull tight. You see how I lost all that slack in there when I gave it a little tug? Now we're going to put on our embellishment. So 3 11/0 seed beads and a 4mm round. Come here. This has a little electroplating coating that makes it kind of hard to see. And then 3 more 11/0s. And then I'm going to drop this down. And then I'm going to go into the same side of the opposite bead. So here's my 8/0, this is the opposite 8/0. I'm going to go into the same side I'm coming out of. So into this side on this 8/0, straight across. And pull this embellishment together here. Then I'm going to pick up 3 more 11/0 seed beads, go into the 4mm round, just place your thumb and finger over the unit and gently hold it in place and pull until you get some decent tension on that, just like that. And get you in a little closer for just a minute. And then let's pick up 3 more 11/0 seed beads onto our needle. And go into the opposite side of the bead we started in, right here. So right into this 8/0 seed bead. And pull this down. Straighten everything up. And now we have to sew down into this unit here. Now it all depends on if you sew up here and you start your embellishment from here, you're going to end up here at the end. If you go ahead and sew down and start your embellishment down here, then you're going to end up down here and you won't have to sew through your beads. It just depends on where you go. But one way or the other, you have to sew either up or down half of the unit. So let's go through this 4mm round here and into the 8mm round. And then into this 4mm round and the 8/0 in the little right angle weave unit at the end here. Straighten everything up the best you can. It's a little wobbly. And then pick up your 3mm bicone and go into the opposite side of the opposite bead, like this. Pull that down. And then sew around the little unit of right angle weave. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to turn it over so I can see better and then go into this bead between the 4mm rounds right here. And then up into the bead above it here and then into the end bead. And now I'm ready to start my next unit. So if you need to, just go ahead and back up the video and watch another unit until you get down the pattern, and then continue until you have 8 units. So this is all contingent on the length, and we're going to do a little fancy finagling at the end here to get us just a tiny bit more length. This right now is a 7-inch bracelet. However, because of the bulkiness, it's fitting me more like a 6-inch bracelet or a 6.5. But if I went another whole unit and then put my clasping on, it would be too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an extension that will look like the top embellishment here to give myself a little bit more length, so it'll just look like a continuation of the embellishment, and then I will put on my clasping. Now if you have a smaller wrist, instead of making 8 units, as I said, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no, 7, instead of making 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Instead of making 8, you'll make 7, and then you'll do the same embellishment. If you need a little bit bigger, then you'll make 9 and then do the same embellishment on the end. And that should help give us a little bit extra to accommodate for the bulkiness of the beads in this bracelet, because these are 8mm round. The way we put the embellishment on, it kind of domes it, so it gives it even more bulk. As you can see, they lay more towards the back. So what we're going to do is I've made my last component, and I went ahead and made my right angle weave on the end like I always do, and put on my embellishment. So just make your unit exactly like you do. Go ahead and reinforce this last unit like you've been doing, and then we're going to pick up 3 11/0s and a 4mm round, and then 2 11/0s and an 8/0. And we're going to drop this down, and I'll show you what I have. So you can see 3 11/0s, a 4mm round, 2 11/0s, and an 8/0. And then you're going to grab the other end of your clasp. This is going to narrow this end down also so that it will clasp properly. A bulky unit on this end is difficult to be able to put this end of the toggle through the other end. So you always want to narrow it down some if you have bulky units. So this is what we have. We're coming through our clasp. We're going to come back through this 8/0 seed bead and just the 8/0 and pull the clasp down to the unit. You don't have to pull it extremely tight. You want to be able to get back up through that clasp, but bring it down to the unit like this. And then pick up 2 11/0 seed beads, go through the 4mm round right here. I'm going to hold on to it, pull these through, try not to get my clasping in there, pull these down so that they lay next to the other 2 11/0s, and then you're going to pick up 3 11/0s and go into the 8/0 on this side because we attached from the other side. Pull this through. Let me straighten it all out. And this is what that looks like. Now we're going to sew back through it and tighten it and make it a little bit neater. And we're going to sew back through it twice at least. So I'm going to pick this up, and from the 8/0 I'm coming out of, I'll just go up these 3 11/0s right here. My thread is in the way. Jeez. Up these 3 11/0s. And into the 4mm round, and then into the 2 11/0s on the other side of it. If you can do it all at once, great. If not, take them a few at a time, and then go up through. Then go through this 8/0 seed bead and the clasp, just like this. Pull it up through without wrapping your thread around everything. And then, now we're coming through the clasp, we're going to go back down into the 8/0, the 2 11/0s here, the 4mm round, and the 3 11/0s on this side. And my thread just wants to get caught on everything today. And then we're going to go back into this 8/0 seed bead. Do that one more time, and then we'll come back and tie this off. Okay, now you can see what this looks like. It's quite pretty, and it does somewhat look like a continuation. If these were closer together, maybe it would look even more. And from this point, it's fine with me. That looks okay. I like it. I'm doing good just to get that far. So I'm coming out of this 8/0 after doing my last securing round. Now I'm going to go in between these 2 beads, the 2 8/0s here, and grab this thread bridge and make a loop in my thread, go through it, and pull a knot down on that thread bridge. And then I'm just going to go through this 8/0 seed bead and stab myself and turn this over, and then I'm going to go into this 8/0 right here. So I'm coming out of this one, I'm going to go into this one, and then into the 4mm round behind it, this 8mm round, and the 4mm round here. Tie another knot right here on the thread bridge between the 4mm round and the 8/0. I've got to get my thread under there correctly. And just make sure I pull a knot down on that thread bridge, just like that. And then I will go into this 8/0 here. And then I'll just go back up into the 4mm round and the 8mm round, and I think I'll just cut my thread off right there. I'm going to leave it a little long and grab my lighter, get close to it, and just melt it in. Just like that. Now, I will measure it real quickly and tell you exactly how long this has turned out to be, so you know how much length you need to accommodate for the extra because of the bulk. So we measure, and this has turned out to be right at, well, not quite. You always want to measure halfway through the middle of the toggle here, and then to your end here. So it's just a little over 7.5 inches. So that should be about right for me. Let's see. We'll put it on and see what we got. See if I give myself enough length. Oops, come here. To put this on. Come here. Oh my goodness. Come here. There. Okay. It is actually perfect. I've got movement. It moves fine, and it doesn't fall into my palm. It lays right where I want it to on my wrist, and it looks really very pretty. Let me get you in so you can see how pretty it looks. Now, as long as you put this on, because it is kind of a floppy, because it has big beads, it's kind of a floppy bracelet. But if you put it on correctly, if you don't have a massive amount of extra length, it fits you pretty well, and you put it on without twisting it, it's going to stay put. See? It's not going to flip or turn or anything, unless, of course, you roll it. But just make sure you put it on right without twisting it, and it turns out pretty darn nice. Let's see. Let's take it off. And it does go in and out of the toggle very well. And it looks really nice. So the narrowing down here actually helps it to function a little bit better. And I think it turned out really nice. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.